Hi and welcome to the Homeopathy Health Show. I'm Atiq Ahmed Bhatti, a fourth generation homeopath with over 25 years of professional experience and practice in this field of healing. The Homeopathy Health Show is the online voice of homeopathy around the world, promoting and raising awareness of this truly unique system of healing, which is suitable for all ages, young and old. Every week I invite guests from the world of homeopathy to come and share their experiences, their work, offer insights, and essentially talk all things homeopathy. Why not visit www.liketreatslike.co.uk and click on the radio and podcast button to listen to the latest episodes. So let's begin today's show here on UK Health Radio, the world's #1 talk health radio. Hi and welcome to another episode of the Homeopathy Health Show here on the UK Health Radio Network. And indeed, this is the voice of homeopathy on radio and podcast. I do hope you've had a pleasant week, as always, and I hope it continues to stay that way. Now, I'm absolutely delighted, and it's a real pleasure to welcome Ananda More to today's show. Ananda is a multifaceted force in the realms of healing, education, film, and health advocacy, and joins me all the way from Mexico. And that does remind me of the spaghetti westerns with Clint Eastwood, because boy did I love them. And only recently on one of my social media platforms, I've been getting all these feeds with Clint Eastwood on them. So, hey, the phones aren't listening. But anyway, let's move on. Ananda More, thank you for thank you for joining me on the Homeopathy Health Show.
Is this where I go? Doo, 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 doo,
Wow, wow, wow.
doo,
Hey, for a fistful of dollars, eh?
Hi, Atik. Thank you so much for inviting me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's absolute. I'm so delighted, and I know it's been a long time coming, and you're so busy. But funnily enough, you're busy for the right things, and that's so good. You know, you're just busy with homeopathy and everything else that goes around it, and that's just so nice to know.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to simplify my life a little, but yeah, working on that. It's a skill, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's difficult, and it just reminded me of something totally not related to this, but you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger saying that and saying, "Get to the chopper," you know? It's not even related. I'm sorry. This is the Homeopathy Health Show. It's just one of those days, you know? But it's going to be fun. So, Ananda More, firstly, thank you for coming on. But secondly, you have a very interesting journey in homeopathy. So do share what made you want to get into this field of healing, which is ultimately a service to humanity?
I think I always wanted to be in service, and I was looking for something where that would happen as a career. I did start more work like with an interest in drama and theater. But at that point, what I wanted to do was shake people up and make them think and make them question the world around them. That was really important to me. And then when I went to university, I did a course in Buddhism, and I got really interested in that. And so I switched my major. And I think that actually, the study of different cultures and different religions from around the world drove me to the idea of healing. I started looking at shamanic practices around the world and how they were like different aspects of performance and theater and dance and music were actually used for healing. And that's a little bit where the journey started. But then being practical, I thought, I'm going to go to law school because what else can I do with this degree? And but I wanted to go into human rights. And then I was backpacking in India, and I got really sick. I met this German girl who I was traveling with, and her mother was a homeopath, so she had her kit with her. And I got so sick, I was throwing up, and she comes with her little kit, and she's like, "Here, I'll give you something." I was like, I'll appease you. I think homeopathy is a load of BS, but let's give it a go. And I took some of her remedy. I have no idea what she gave me. And 10, 15 minutes later, I was feeling great. So after that, my mind started mulling it over and my mind started mulling it over and I got really interested in it. And I went to see a homeopath in India, and his prescription helped me ease like a lifetime of depression. And I still get sad, but I don't have that long-standing depression that I used to have. And I was blown away, and I thought this is a beautiful way to help people. And so that was the beginning of my journey. And I checked out a few schools. I chose a school in Toronto, and that's where my studies began.
With what you've just shared about depression, it's strange, isn't it? I always reflect upon this a lot with stories such as this, because they can really touch the heart. And of course, this one certainly has done as well. And where you were to where you are today, where you are literally traveling the world, you could say, even if it's virtual, even if it's physical, and promoting homeopathy left, right, and center. And it's like full steam ahead. It's interesting, isn't it? From being in a place where necessarily you don't want to do anything to a place where you are actually doing everything. I mean, how amazing is that?
Yeah, I guess I never thought of it that way. But I also, me personally, for my personal journey, my depression kind of pushed me to do things because it was things have to get better, or I have
Mm.
to uh, I think often depression is about feeling that you're not worthy or not good enough or not worthy of love. And the way it acted in me was that it pushed me to try to be worthy. But I always felt everything around people are judging me, people are looking at me, I'm not good enough. And I think, yeah, it totally flipped my world around. It's not an issue anymore. And so, like, thinking about where did homeopathy touch with the idea of depression, because we in Western thought, we think of depression as a biochemical thing, right? In
Mm.
conventional medicine. And I don't think it's that at all. And I think now we're starting to get research that shows us that they had it all wrong around serotonin, for example. So, like, we need to address what I think are those underlying perceptions that a human being is carrying with them from their trauma, from whatever life experience they've had that paints their world. And I think that's where homeopathy is kind of beautiful. It gives you sometimes a more broad perspective on how you're feeling and what you're thinking and why it is. It gives you a realization.
And also, one of the beauties, isn't it, is that with homeopathy, because you're covering mental, emotional, physical, and even the patient is involved in the remedy, they're aware of what remedies are being given. It's such a, a wonderful way of educating an individual, where they can then understand, or certainly pose or ponder over that question of who am I and what is my purpose, you know?
Mhm.
And that's so important, isn't it? Because so many people, as you very well know, do not know who they are. And they're lost in the chattel of things, aren't they? You know? And it's so important to find yourself. And people say, "Oh, what do you mean find you?" It's so important to know who you are. Who am I? The me, the I am. What am I about? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What can I do to help others? How do people observe me? And those things are so important. But within homeopathy, within the realms of homeopathy, certainly, we can discover that, can't we? Because a lot of time is given to reflection.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just feel so much better from the consultation itself. So I feel like we're mapping out a person's history and we help them make those connections of, oh, this has led to me feeling this way, or this is what happened and this is how I perceived it, and maybe it wasn't as I saw it. And And that's certainly the journey to self-knowledge, is being able to self-perceive and look at oneself without judgment.
Mm.
And I think that, and without being defensive. I think that's usually what happens is in other areas, people will get defensive about who they are, again, because they feel unworthy or not good enough. And so they don't want to look at that. And in the homeopathic consultation, that's exactly what we want to confront. And if a good homeopath will guide people through that process in a gentle way, Hahnemann told us that it's very, very important to be unbiased and not judgmental as we're taking a case. And it's a very special space that we create.
It's going off slightly off track, but it makes you wonder, isn't it? Life, I mean, everybody gets sick, right? It's just life. That is life. That's part of life, I mean, that's not life as far as that's your life to get sick, but I mean, it's a part of life. It's just the way things are, right? And I think sometimes, it's important to realize that, we are essentially not, what's the word? Invincible as such. It certainly can come across, isn't it? Invincible. I always use with a patient when I'm talking to them, or even if I'm doing a workshop, I always say, look, you could be the strongest man on earth or woman. You can do whatever you want, but it just takes a needle or a nail in your finger and you'll wince, won't you? And you'll think, oh, and it hurt. So how invincible really are we, And that's the same with emotions. Sometimes emotions can get the better of us, and it's hard every day is a challenge as far as having stability, especially now in the 21st century where things are just so fast, everything, isn't it? It's fast paced. Do it now, get it done now, think fast, make a decision quick, and you have no time, literally, swept off your feet, literally. But that, again, I link it back to homeopathy because, and in fact, Dr. Rajan Sankaran mentioned this recently. I was talking to him, not in his words, but the fact of finding yourself and being who you are supposed to be by removing the layers. And that's so, so important, isn't it? And homeopathy helps with that, doesn't it? You can become, even Jan Scholten, as you very well know, has spoken about personalities. And we can become a personality just by sickness. We're not that person. But homeopathy comes in and it removes it so gently with so much love, so much beauty in such a beautiful way. It removes that layer and then there's a personality, and it removes that layer and then you are who you're supposed to be, whatever that is. It's fascinating, isn't it?
It's very subtle the way it works too, right? Like people will be like, "Oh, I don't feel any different." Okay, come, let's sit and talk about how it's going. So how's your headache? Oh, what headache? I don't remember having headaches. Well, you came to me for headaches. Right. Yeah, no, I'm not having those anymore.
I get that every single time, like every homeopath, right? It's so funny because I've with notes, that's the beauty of notes, right? In case taking, you have everything to go back to, and it's like, oh yeah, that's gone, and that's gone, and that's gone, and that's 50% better, and that's 20. And you say, but you walked in and you said nothing was, you're still the same. And said, well, no, this is what we meant. Like, okay, all right. I don't know how I was supposed to know that, but
I think
interesting.
people start to let go of that expression that wasn't theirs,
Yeah,
of that layer, as you're saying. And it's so gentle that you don't even perceive it happening.
yeah, absolutely. Now, Ananda More, you graduated, of course, from the Ontario College of Homeopathic Medicine in 2005, and then you went on to complete a 3-year Master Clinicians program with the famous Louis Klein. Now, I wanted to ask you, actually, what was it like being on the program, learning from Louis?
Oh, he is such a lateral thinker, and he makes these incredible connections constantly. So you're sitting there learning Materia Medica, and he's bringing in like so many ideas from different remedies, different worlds. And he really opens up a beautiful understanding and a beautiful way of learning. It was a 3-year program, And yeah, I'm really glad I did that pretty much coming out of homeopathic school, maybe like a year or two after graduating, and it really gave me guidance on how to really do more advanced work, I think, with my patients, and opened me up to a whole world of new remedies and how to think about them. He's got, I mean, he's done so much work proving a bunch of remedies and, I don't know, fish and orchids and the miasmatic remedies. That he's got some books on miasms that really look at, like, it just broadens your world on as to what can be a miasm. There it is. That's the new book. We were
Oh,
involved. My class did blue tang,
oh,
and
interesting.
the dementia piece really came out. Blue tang is the fish from Finding Nemo. It's Dory. And what's really cool is in the movie, Dory can't remember anything, right? She has this tiny little memory, and she's always like, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And she can't remember where she was 5 minutes ago. And it's incredible that the Disney animators were able to connect with that, because it's actually the essence of blue tang as well. So it's really interesting that that's there.
It is truly amazing, isn't it, how that works, you know? That's the beauty of homeopathy, because it's all around us, literally. Everything to find health and well-being is there. It's just a matter of time, study, and in the case of homeopathy, potentization, isn't it? Now,
Yeah, so
yeah,
I was going to say that potentization connects us with the archetype, the essence, and that energetic essence of how something is manifesting on the planet. And I think that's really cool. It gives us another perspective. And when it keeps repeating, we see, I don't know, like the themes of human development and chakras, and we can understand mineral remedies through that lens. We can understand plant remedies through that lens. We can understand animal remedies through that lens. And those are themes that keep repeating I think, in creation.
mm.
And having that homeopathic perspective enables us that depth of understanding, which I think is really cool.
Now I must ask you about Riverdale Homeopathy in Canada. Um, you were the co-owner of Riverdale for nearly 18 years, and it's a real cherished hub as far as homeopathy is concerned in Canada. So do tell us a bit more. Are you still there? Are you still in Riverdale?
I'm not. It's having, moved and trying to spend more time in Mexico, Riverdale. I left it with David. I sold it to David, but it's a really special and unique organization, I think, in Canada. And I think it's really served to make homeopathy more available to people. It's not like the UK where you have homeopathic pharmacies and homeopaths everywhere.
Hmm.
Canada is much more limited, and there aren't a lot of places to get homeopathic remedies. So Riverdale Homeopathy, other than one place in Calgary, is the only place I know that was really specialized in selling homeopathic remedies and books. And I think that made it really unique. And a lot of homeopaths, at least in Canada, feel a sense of isolation once they graduate. They don't have a community with which to talk, to practice. We don't have mentorship programs. We don't have, what's it called? Supervision. So there aren't a lot of areas where homeopaths can find their colleagues and communion. And I think Riverdale really helped provide that in Toronto. And that was very unique and special about it. Riverdale's still around. It's no longer has a storefront and clinic. So now it's all online. But it's a great place to order things that you can't get easily in Canada.
What's it like, homeopathy in Canada? How's it going? I mean, is it slowly increasing as far as awareness is concerned and usership?
I think with COVID, people started searching out alternatives and we got very busy. But the Canadian government is doing a lot to limit access to natural medicine. And a few months ago, they passed a budget bill, Bill C-47. And within that bill, they had hidden basically a law that's going to make access to natural healthcare products, including homeopathy, very, very difficult. It's very similar to what the FDA has done with homeopathy in the United States, basically calling it a new drug and asking, giving the FDA powers to remove homeopathic products off the shelf and demanding that homeopathic products go through a new drug application process, which, can cost $300 million to $1 billion to get one drug passed or one substance passed for one, pathology. And we know homeopathy doesn't work that way. So it makes it very, very difficult. Well, Canada's doing the same thing for all natural healthcare products. And it's now become illegal to even say something like, oh, ginger is traditionally used for nausea.
Really?
So things are becoming very, very difficult in Canada. We don't feel it yet because it's going to be a slow process. It's going to be about 2 years as they implement this. So they're not making natural medicine illegal. They're not impeding homeopaths themselves. And I think, if my understanding is correct, don't quote me on this, I think homeopaths will still be able to prescribe products to their patients in the patient-practitioner relationship in Ontario, at least, where homeopathy is recognized as a health profession. But yeah, like all our pharmacies will be out of business. Maybe they'll be able to put out 10 or 15 products and only be able to use whatever Health Canada approves as health use. So it's very tricky what's happening.
Worrying times. Very worrying indeed. Yeah, it's concerning. I know that I was listening to Dr. Michaela Glockler at the Society of Homeopaths conference a few months back. And she mentioned that in Germany, a bill was being passed or had been passed that was going to move homeopathy out of the mainstream totally. So it seems like a very, very big push. And, somebody actually said something very interesting about that, is because you can't patent homeopathy. You can't patent arnica. How are you going to do that? Yeah, you can't patent belladonna, gelsemium. It's not possible. You can't. So if you're not able to patent homeopathy, then, well, I won't say too much because we're on the Homeopathy Health Show. But for those intellectuals out there, I'm sure you can fill in the blanks. So yeah, but hey, stronger together. So as far as homeopaths are concerned, now is such an important time. And one of the objectives actually of this show and everything that I do personally is also to bring that message of homeopathy to the next generation. The switched on generation as such, who are active thinkers and they question things and they want, answers. And that's a good thing in homeopathy. We never shy away from that. Ask the questions and look at the fantastic results that homeopathy provides. And I have to say, alongside conventional medicine, it works fantastic. As an alternative or complementary, it works fantastic. And if it's just homeopathy you want, again, it's fantastic. So it's never been a mishmash as such. It has its own place. It works on a totally different level. And yeah, so let's hope that, I look forward to the next generation of homeopaths, the young free thinkers as such.
Yeah, I don't know what your experience is, but I find lately at homeopathic conferences, I'm amongst one of the youngest people there, and I'm not that young. And that concerns me a little bit. So I think it's so important to bring the next generation into this, make sure homeopathy survives. I do see, I think homeopathy gaining popularity with mothers again, and families searching to learn how to use homeopathy for their families. And that's incredibly important, because that's when homeopathy all but died in North America, it was parents and home prescribers that really kept it alive and kept it around. And you know, if they want to push a dark age on us once again, then we need these young parents and young people to carry on the torch.
Absolutely.
But I think it's really vital to get young people studying homeopathy, understanding it, learning what it is. And I think a lot of people are very, very disillusioned right now with conventional medicine. It has an important place, and even has brought us so much knowledge for you know, complementary and alternative practitioners like ourselves into our art. But we also have to ensure that people get to choose. That people have the ability to decide how they want to treat themselves, and that we don't need, I mean, people don't like me because I'm controversial sometimes, but I don't think we need Big Brother telling us what's okay and what's not okay when it comes to our health, and closing down options for us. I mean, obviously, if something's toxic and really dangerous, but we know homeopathy is completely non-toxic. And that's one of its incredible assets. We're not doing something chemical to the body, and that's beautiful. You know, when the FDA was formed and they passed homeopathy, they grandfathered homeopathy into the FDA, because the point of the FDA was to protect people from things that were toxic. And they recognized back then that homeopathy was inherently safe. So it's kind of bizarre now that these government organizations are trying to paint homeopathy as dangerous when it really isn't, and it shouldn't be threatening. And you see all these countries right now, here in Mexico, for example, homeopathy is really well regulated. There's high quality homeopathic pharmacies, and there's homeopaths on every corner. I'm in a place called Oaxaca right now on holiday, and maybe 200 meters from here, not even 100 meters from here, there's a homeopathic pharmacy and doctor.
Brilliant.
And there's a lineup outside.
Brilliant. I love that. Send me pictures.
But there's no, I will. There's no threat, especially if we can work together. In India, at the homeopathic hospitals, you have allopaths and homeopaths working together in every department. And we can take the best of each kind of medicine and improve on each other. And that's where the thinking needs to go.
Absolutely. Now, something very exciting. Most homeopaths will know already, but those listeners who are just tuning in, of course. Now, Ananda More is very, very well known around the world for her groundbreaking documentary called Magic Pills, which challenges the mainstream misconceptions about homeopathic remedies or homeopathic medicine, and within this documentary, she presents narratives, scientific insights, and extensive evidence from across the globe. So, number one, how did you get to doing Magic Pills, the documentary? And tell us a bit more. I mean, it's exciting.
So with Riverdale Homeopathy, we sell books, and I was at a homeopathic conference in Toronto, and Dr. Gustavo Bracho came and presented their work on ending an epidemic of leptospirosis, which to most, like to North Americans, they've never heard of this illness, but it's very common in tropical areas of the world, especially when there's hurricanes and wet types of weather that people can't avoid water. And it's a spirochete. It's a type of bacteria that's spread through exposure to water. And just by walking through it, it gets into your body through your skin, through the tiniest lesion, like a mosquito bite, for example. And when I saw Dr. Bracho, who's not a homeopath, he's actually an immunologist. He's lived in the world of vaccines at an organization, at a pharmaceutical company in Cuba that was dedicated to making vaccines. And they were hit with this impending epidemic after a very strong hurricane hit a part of Cuba. And this is the only pharmacy in the world that makes the human vaccine for leptospirosis. Everywhere in the world, everywhere else in the world, we vaccinate our animals against this disease. But they were the first place to make the human vaccine. Now, they didn't have enough vaccine to go around these provinces of Cuba. So they totally took a step out of the box and decided to try homeopathy as a way of preventing the spread of the epidemic. And it was extraordinarily successful. So I tell the story in the film, but when I saw Dr. Bracho present this, I thought this should be front page news. And I thought there's got to be some way to get this information out into the world. And that's where the idea for the documentary began, as a way of being able to expose real world, large scale, successful uses of homeopathy. So I wanted to show this side of things, and I wanted to demonstrate that we have real scientists doing real work, real medical doctors, and making a significant impact. So in the film, I show this story of Cuba. We also look at the work of the Banerjees, the late Banerjees. Unfortunately, they've both passed away, but their work continues through their students, and they work in Calcutta. And they're particularly known for their protocols for brain tumors, which are incredibly effective. And we look at homeopathy for health in Africa, Jeremy and Camilla Scher, and the work they do there, treating people for all kinds of things. They provide medical care in Maasai villages and in places where no one else is providing medical care. And they work hand in hand with hospitals, which is beautiful. Again, there's a culture there of using natural medicine, so there isn't that same perceived threat of, oh, we can't work with homeopaths. They're so happy to integrate and work together. So I encourage people to check out the film. It's still around. People are still doing screenings. I know it's been around for a while, but I think it's still very informative and has a lot to give.
And how do we get hold of that? How do we watch it?
The film is easily accessible on my website, which is magicpillsmovie.com, and people can screen it there. People can also stream it on YouTube. You have to pay, it's not free. And you can watch it on, I think it's on Amazon in some countries. And also on, is it Tubi? I think on Tubi as well.
I was going to ask you, how long did it take to put it together?
7 years.
Oh my, that's a long time. That's a lot of work, isn't it?
It was a lot of work. I was very blessed with a few, angel investors that came in, really just angels, because they didn't get anything financial out of it. They invested in helping promote homeopathy, and with the community who really came out and helped us fund the production.
That's so good, isn't it? And the workload, how did you manage that with everything else that you were doing? Was this something that you had to commit to, or was it throughout the week, or was it something like, well, hang on, look, I'm going to give 2 days to this, and because you can't just stop everything else, right? Everything carries on.
There were periods of time where I wasn't as active in my practice, so that I could, editing was very, very time intensive, was a daily, often 10 hours of film, of sitting with the editor and working out the storyline and choosing material. We had a lot of material that all of it had to be gone through, and what's the word? I had to I forgot the word right now. Write down everything in the film word for word so that we could have a sense of what was going on and edit.
Hmm.
So yeah, there were times where I definitely took time off of work and off my practice and took months just dedicated to the film. And at other times it was about raising money for the film. So that was quite a bit of work as well. But during that time, I kept working. So running the store with David and seeing patients and hosting events, and it was so much fun. It was so worthwhile, and I think that's also why it took 7 years.
Very inspiring, I must say. So once again, for those who have, well, for the many who may not have seen, let's say, please head over to did you mention YouTube, didn't you?
Yeah, I'd prefer magicpillsmovie.com. So
Okay.
if people watch it on YouTube or Amazon or these other places, we don't get any money. Really, like we get like maybe a couple of cents from the screening. And when you watch it with us, you become part of our community. You help fund the work that we're doing. Just keeping the film online and active and the community that we have running takes money and effort. And like right now, there's a team of 3 people that are maintaining all our efforts.
Mm.
So by watching the film there, you're able to help us fund the work that we're doing.
Excellent. Now that moves us on to off-grid with homeopathy. And my question is, what's that all about?
So it all started with me feeling that I need to become more self-sufficient and starting to look at ways of doing that, be it homesteading, growing my own food, becoming more independent in my energy production. And I don't want to be separate from the world. I don't need to live like a hermit somewhere, but I want to become more self-sufficient. Times are strange. With COVID, we saw how our chains of transportation and how dependent we are on things coming from other places. And when those things go down, we're at risk of not having enough food, and here in Mexico, you can quickly not have enough water. So the idea really became important to me, and I started to connect with people who have that similar train of thought, that want to grow their own food and want to be more self-sufficient. But I started to realize that people don't have the health skills that are required to do that. And especially during COVID, it became scary to go to the hospital.
Mm.
In Canada, people were coming in and not coming out. And you don't know what's going on in there, at least in those days. In Canada, you couldn't accompany a loved one. It was a very isolating, very terrifying experience going into the hospital for a lot of people. And if we are able to, using homeopathy, reduce the need to see those end up in emergency care situations, I think that's so empowering to people. It's such an incredible skill to have. And if you're going to be going off grid, as I like to say, then you got to know how to take care of your health as well. So we have this free community. I welcome people to join, where it's not easily available from our website. I'll let that squeak go by. It's not available on our website quite yet. It should be up in the next couple of weeks, but we're at over 500 people now in the community. And the idea there is to provide support. There's a lot of places online where you can study homeopathy, but I see that there's a lot of groups that are more like mommy groups, and they don't have the guidance of professional homeopaths with experience to support people on their learning journey. We give you cheat sheets. We have a monthly call with another homeopath to like to learn more, to discuss. They're very fun. Maybe you want to come on one of my shows one day, Atik.
Hey, I'd love to do it. I'm ready. I can do it right
Awesome.
now. Let's stop recording here and I'll jump onto that one.
Fantastic. They're live Zoom calls that we do. And the goal is to just help people get the support they need. We talked about it earlier that I think it's really important for the home practitioners or the home prescribers to learn homeopathy, to learn basic prescribing skill for acute situations, because that's what's going to keep homeopathy alive. I really believe that. That's it's a multifaceted approach, but that's definitely one of them, I think, and it's important. So that's the point of the community of homeopathy off-grid. And then we're going to have different courses available. We're going to be running a summer camp, for example, 3-week boot camp into learning homeopathy and getting your feet wet and getting some confidence in treating your family for simple.
Wonderful. You are so busy. Oh my God, it's it's
Aren't we
it's
all,
a
though?
wonderful life though, isn't it? It's a wonderful life, right?
It's nice to be doing something that you feel you're contributing. It's important for me.
So I remember earlier this year you were also on Homeo Summit, which is the world's largest homeopathy event. Do share what your chosen subject was and how that went.
Sure, I actually got to do 2 different presentations. So one was like a homeopathy, we called it Homeopathy 101 Part 2, really looking at basic terminology, basic philosophy and theory behind homeopathy. And then my second presentation was for homeopaths for the professional track. And there I'm working with a new technique for case taking, which involves an adaptation of the system called heart freedom method, which my good friend Lee Janelle created. And her approach was really a way of coaching, and you can't legally call it therapy, but it's like shadow work of being able to understand where past traumas come from and how those paint our current expression and our self-sabotage and those things that are subconsciously affecting us in ways that we're not really aware of. And I felt that being able to use that methodology to understand our cases is really beautiful, because it gets you to that time, that period where the trauma or something that set in a very specific pattern appeared, and we can go right into the sensations at that point, if that's the way you practice, or an understanding of where that state and where that source came from. So I think it's really elegant, it's really beautiful, and it's really simple, and gets us as practitioners into the core of what is happening in the case and what needs to be cured.
Amazing. So much going on in the world of homeopathy, isn't it? I always think about this, it's such a progressive system of healthcare. It really is, It's adaptable. It's even, dare I say it is malleable, very much so, And it's just amazing as far as acutes are concerned. And I was just talking with somebody recently, and you were talking about how incredibly powerful homeopathy is for mental health conditions and emotional imbalances. And it's been like that for over 200 years. Nothing's changed. It's just that we have become very much more susceptible to emotional imbalances and mental health complaints. And homeopathy is there to fix that, and that's just amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we're very blessed, and I think homeopathy continues to grow and expand, and I still think we're in the infancy of what is possible. We're still just getting an idea of how this works and where we can go with homeopathy to improve on it.
Wonderful. Ananda More, it's been such a sheer delight to have you on the Homeopathy Health Show. Thank you so very much. It's great to connect, and we'll stay in touch. And hopefully sometime soon you'll come over to the UK.
I would love that. I love coming to the UK. It's fun
Good.
every time. I think it's
So
a
give me
beautiful
a
place.
shout and we'll meet up and we'll do a live episode as well. We'll do one on
I
location.
love that.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so very much, and I'll speak to you very, very soon.
Thank you, Atik, and thank you for all you do and helping us spread the beauty of homeopathy with everyone.
Thank you. I do hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Homeopathy Health Show. Please do support the show by clicking follow on my socials. Remember, the more exposure the podcast receives, the better for homeopathy around the world. You can find me on Instagram by searching for @like_treatslike, and on both Facebook and TikTok by searching for @like_treatslike. So let's promote the voice of homeopathy on radio and podcast around the world together. Don't forget to visit me online at www.liketreatslike.co.uk and click on the radio and podcast tab. Here you'll be able to see all the guests that have joined me on the show so far, and of course you can stream on demand the latest episode to your mobile, tablet or PC. Until next time, stay safe and take care.